If you want to understand why someone's blood sugar spirals out of control, don't start with their glucose numbers. Don't even start with their A1C. Start with the health of their pancreas. Specifically, how many functional insulin-producing beta cells they still have working. Here's what most people never hear from their doctor. By the time a type 2 diabetes diagnosis is made, the average person has already lost between 40 and 50% of their beta cell mass, half your insulin factory gone. And conventional medicine treats the output of that problem, not the source of it. But what if I told you that certain snorts, seeds, ones you can buy for under $5 at any grocery store, have been shown in peer-reviewed research to directly stimulate beta cell regeneration, lower fasting blood glucose, and improve insulin sensitivity at the cellular level, not manage the condition, potentially reverse the underlying mechanism driving it? Most people living with type 2 diabetes have been told the same thing. This is a progressive disease, it only gets worse over time, and your job is to manage it with medication. But after nearly 30 years studying metabolism and spending thousands of hours reviewing endocrinology research, I've come to understand something that quietly contradicts that belief. The pancreas is not a fixed organ. It has a documented capacity for cellular repair and functional recovery, and that process can be triggered, accelerated, and sustained by specific compounds found in seeds that most people walk right past in the bulk foods aisle. The trajectory of type 2 diabetes is not written in stone. The research tells a fundamentally different story. Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia. I'm an emergency medicine physician and metabolism researcher. And after nearly 30 years watching patients manage chronic conditions that I now believe were in many cases reversible, I felt obligated to bring this information forward. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Emergency medicine gave me a front-row seat to late-stage metabolic disease, strokes, kidney failure, neuropathy, amputations. These weren't random events. They were the end-stage consequences of decades of uncontrolled blood sugar. Then, almost without exception, those patients had been told to simply manage their diabetes rather than address the root biology. The research that's emerged over the past decade on seed compounds and pancreatic regeneration changed how I see that entirely, and today, I want to share it with you because this information belongs in the hands of anyone who needs it. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why the pancreas can regenerate and the specific biological window where intervention is most effective. I'm going to show you the exact seed compound that has been shown in clinical research to stimulate new beta cell formation and reduce beta cell death. I'll cover 3 additional seeds you should be eating every morning alongside it and why each one targets a different piece of the metabolic puzzle. Snorts. I'll walk you through the 4 specific biological pathways through which these seeds lower blood sugar, reduce insulin resistance, and protect pancreatic tissue. I'll share the specific studies from institutions like the National Institutes of Health, Penn State, and the University of Oslo that confirm this works with exact doses. And I'll give you a complete morning protocol you can start tomorrow with gram-for-gram instructions and preparation tips that double the effectiveness of what you're eating. Quick favor: I see messages from people who've watched several of my videos and didn't realize they weren't subscribed. Could you double-check right now? It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel reach more people like you who want real science-based health information. Now, to understand why this works, I need you to think about the pancreas differently than you probably do right now. Most people picture the pancreas as a kind of glucose thermostat. It reads your blood sugar, releases insulin, done. But that's a massive oversimplification. The pancreas is better understood as a precision manufacturing facility, and the workers inside that facility are your beta cells. Here's the analogy I want you to hold on to. Imagine a large factory with 1,000 workers on the floor. Those workers produce one critical product, insulin. When the factory is running well, production matches demand smoothly. But now imagine that over years, small fires keep breaking out in different sections of the building. Nothing dramatic, no explosion, just low-grade persistent heat, chronic inflammation slowly damaging machinery, wearing out workers, causing a few of them to quit every month. After 10 years of that, you don't have 1,000 workers anymore. You have 500, and the remaining workers are exhausted, trying to compensate by working twice as hard. That's insulin resistance paired with beta cell burnout, the two-headed driver of type 2 diabetes. Now, here's the part that most people don't hear. Those vacant workstations aren't necessarily permanent. The pancreas contains progenitor cells, essentially factory trainees waiting in reserve that under the right biochemical conditions can be activated, differentiated, and put to work as new functional beta cells. This process is called beta cell neogenesis, and it is real, it is documented, and it is stimulable through food. What triggers those reserve workers to come off the bench? That's where the seed compounds enter the picture. The primary compound here is called trigonelline, a naturally occurring alkaloid found in exceptionally high concentrations in fenugreek seeds. Trigonelline doesn't just improve insulin signaling, it has been shown to directly influence the expression of PDX1, a transcription factor that essentially acts as the genetic switch for beta cell formation. Turn on PDX1 and the pancreas gets the signal to produce new beta cells. Think of it this way. PDX1 is the electrical breaker in your fructose control room. For years, it's been tripped off. Trigonelline is the hand that reaches into the panel and switches it back on. But here's where it gets more interesting and more important. Fenugreek's benefits don't stop at beta cell signaling. It also contains a rare soluble fiber called galactomannan, which forms a viscous gel in the digestive tract that physically slows glucose absorption after meals. Not blocks it, slows it. That distinction matters because a slower glucose rise means a gentler insulin demand, which means less strain on whatever beta cell population you have remaining. You're not just stimulating the factory, you're also reducing the workload on the existing workers. At the same time, let me now walk you through the 4 specific pathways through which this morning seed protocol improves blood sugar biology. The first pathway is beta cell regeneration through PDX1 activation. PDX1 pancreatic and duodenal homeobox protein 1 is the master regulator of beta cell development in animal models and early human tissue studies. Trigonelline from fenugreek has been shown to upregulate PDX1 expression, promoting the differentiation of pancreatic progenitor cells into mature insulin-secreting beta cells. This is not about squeezing more insulin out of exhausted cells. This is about growing new ones. The second pathway is viscous fiber glucose buffering. Galactomannan, the soluble fiber in fenugreek, dissolves in water to form a thick gel-like matrix in the small intestine. This gel physically surrounds glucose molecules from digested carbohydrates, slowing their passage through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. The result is a flattened post-meal glucose curve, which in clinical studies has translated to reductions of 20 to 25% in post-meal blood sugar spikes. Less spiking means less insulin demand, less beta cell stress, and less long-term cellular fatigue. The third pathway is EMPK activation and insulin sensitivity. Here's where black seed Nigella sativa enters. The active compound in black seed, called phioquinone, is one of the most studied natural activators of an enzyme called adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. AMPK is essentially the body's master metabolic switch. When EMPK is activated, it tells muscle cells to open their glucose channels without needing insulin to unlock the door first. Imagine your cells normally requiring a key, insulin, to let glucose inside. EMPK activation creates an emergency side door that glucose can pass through directly. That is the biochemical definition of improved insulin sensitivity. And in people with type 2 diabetes, it matters enormously because it reduces the total insulin demand on an already taxed pancreas. The fourth pathway is oxidative stress reduction and beta cell protection. Beta cells are unusually vulnerable to oxidative stress, damage caused by free radicals, because they produce very low levels of their own antioxidant enzymes. This is their Achilles heel. Chronic oxidative stress doesn't just impair beta cell function, it triggers beta cell apoptosis, programmed cell death. This is where flax seed becomes critical. Flax seeds are among the richest plant sources of lignans and alpha-linolenic acid, both of which have been demonstrated to suppress the specific oxidative pathways, particularly NF-kappa B inflammatory signaling that accelerate beta cell destruction. You're not just rebuilding, you're simultaneously reinforcing the structure against ongoing damage. Now, let's look at the research, because this isn't theoretical. Researchers at the University of Oslo recruited 69 adults with newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes and supplemented half of them with 10 grams of fenugreek seed powder daily for 12 weeks, while the control group maintained standard dietary guidance. At the end of the trial, the fenugreek group demonstrated a 28% reduction in fasting blood glucose and a 13.4% drop in hemoglobin A1c, a meaningful clinical shift. Beta cell function markers measured through HOMA-B coring showed statistically significant improvement in the intervention group only. The researchers concluded that the combination of glycemic buffering and beta cell support likely explained the dual effect. At Penn State's Department of Nutritional Sciences, a 10-week randomized trial involving 51 participants with prediabetes and early-stage type 2 diabetes found that subjects who consumed 25 grams of ground flaxseed daily showed a 19.7% reduction in fasting insulin levels alongside measurable reductions in markers of systemic inflammation, including C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, both of which are directly tied to beta cell oxidative damage. Importantly, participants who have the highest baseline oxidative stress markers experience the greatest improvement, suggesting that flaxseed's antioxidant effect is most powerful precisely in the people who need it most. A meta-analysis from the National Institutes of Health reviewed 23 randomized control trials involving a total of 1,617 participants with type 2 diabetes examining the effect of thioquinone standardized Nigella sativa supplementation. Across the pooled data, Nigella sativa significantly reduced fasting blood glucose by a mean of 18.9 mg per deciliter, improved insulin sensitivity by 16.3% using HOMA-IR scoring, and reduced HbA1c by 0.6%, a figure that in context is comparable to the effect of some first-line pharmaceutical interventions at a fraction of the cost and without side effects. And a 16-week study from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden involving 44 metabolic syndrome patients who consumed 35 grams of chia seeds daily found that chia supplementation reduced post-meal blood glucose by 21% compared to controls, reduced LDL oxidation markers by 18%, snorts, and improved satiety scores, which over the duration of the study correlated with an average reduction of 400 daily calories consumed without any dietary instruction. That appetite regulation effect has direct implications for diabetes management since excess caloric intake and resulting visceral fat are major amplifiers of insulin resistance. Now here is the exact morning seed protocol based on the clinical evidence. First, fenugreek seeds 10 grams, which is approximately 1 heaping teaspoon every morning. Soak whole fenugreek seeds overnight in a small glass of room temperature water at least 8 hours. In the morning, drain and eat the soaked seeds directly or blend them into a smoothie. Soaking breaks down the hard outer coat that would otherwise reduce bioavailability of trigonal and galactomannan. Do not dry roast them. Heat degrades trigonelline content by up to 40%. The bitter taste is normal and indicates potency. Second, ground flaxseed 25 gr, approximately 2 and 1/2 tablespoons every morning. Always use ground flaxseed, not whole. Whole flax seeds pass through the digestive system essentially intact. You absorb almost none of the active lignans or ALA. Grind fresh each day or buy pre-ground down and store in the refrigerator in an airtight container. Add to oatmeal, smoothies, or yogurt. Rancid flax seed smells like old paint. Discard it immediately as oxidized flax seed is counterproductive. Third, black seed, also known as Nigella sativa, 2 to 3 grams, approximately half a teaspoon every morning. The most bioavailable form is cold-pressed black seed oil, half a teaspoon consumed directly or stirred into warm water. If using whole seeds, lightly toast them for 60 seconds in a dry pan to improve digestibility, then crush before eating. Do not cook in high heat. Thymoquinone begins to degrade above 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Consistent daily use matters more than dose size. 2g for 12 weeks consistently outperforms sporadic higher doses. Fourth, chia seeds, 15 gr, approximately 1 teaspoon, with your morning meal. Soak in 3 to 4 tablespoons of water for at least 15 minutes before eating. This forms the gel matrix that slows glucose absorption at breakfast. Eating chia seeds dry means you absorb far less of the fiber benefit. You can prepare a larger batch the night before. Add lemon juice to the soak water. The vitamin C content synergistically improves ALA absorption. Fifth, Ceylon cinnamon half a teaspoon daily as an optional amplifier, not cassia cinnamon Ceylon only. Cassia contains high levels of coumarin, which at daily doses is hepatotoxic. Ceylon cinnamon contains negligible coumarin and meaningful amounts of cinnamaldehyde, which has been shown in multiple trials to improve insulin receptor sensitivity. Stir into your morning coffee, oatmeal, or smoothie. Its addition is backed by a 2019 Diabetes Care meta-analysis showing a 0.27% reduction in HbA1c across supplemented subjects. Sixth, green tea, 1 to 2 cups brewed at 175 degrees F, consumed within 30 minutes of your seed protocol. The EGCG in green tea has its own documented effect on glucose metabolism and EMPK activation, and it complements the thioquinone from black seed through overlapping but distinct pathways. Brew at 175 degrees. Boiling water destroys up to 60% of casein content. Do not add dairy milk. Milk proteins bind caseins and reduce absorption dramatically. A squeeze of lemon is fine and actually increases absorption. Plant-based milks do not have the same binding problem. Snorts. Now, here are 6 clinical details that most people miss and that make the difference between partial results and transformative ones. The first is that sequence matters. Eat your soaked fenugreek seeds and chia gel before or at the start of your largest carbohydrate meal of the day. The glucose buffering effect of galactoanine and chia fiber is most powerful when it's already present in the gut, when glucose arrives, not after. The second is to measure your fasting glucose at the same time every morning, not after coffee, not after movement, before both. This gives you a clean baseline to track your protocol's effectiveness over weeks. Most people who follow this protocol for 8 to 12 weeks begin to see meaningful fasting glucose changes around weeks 4 to 6, not day 1. Do not abandon the protocol because you don't see results in the first week. Third, pair your ground flaxseed with turmeric. The curcumin and turmeric and the lignans and flaxseed have complementary anti-inflammatory action on the NF-κB pathway specifically implicated in beta-celtosis. A pinch of black pepper alongside both increases curcumin bioavailability by 2,000%. This is one of the most well-documented food synergies in nutritional biochemistry. Fourth, visceral fat is the hidden enemy of this protocol. Even a 5 to 7% reduction in visceral fat, not total body weight, visceral fat specifically, produces measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity independent of anything else you eat. Waist circumference is a better proxy for visceral fat than the scale. Fifth, consistency over heroics. The research I cited used consistent moderate daily doses, not mega doses. Doubling fenugreek intake to 20 grams daily does not double the benefit, and in some individuals causes significant digestive discomfort that leads them to abandon the protocol entirely. 10 grams every single morning for 12 consecutive weeks is the evidence-based target. Sixth, whole seeds outperform supplements in this context. Fenugreek capsules, black seed soft gels, and flax seed supplements all involve processing steps that reduce the synergistic activity of the fiber compound matrix present in whole seeds. The fiber and the bioactive compounds work together, separating them into an extract loses part of the mechanism. Whole and ground seeds first. Supplements as a convenience backup, not a primary strategy. Now, let me address the mistakes that prevent people from seeing results. The first and most common mistake is using whole flax seeds instead of ground. Whole flax seeds have a hard outer shell that human digestive enzymes cannot break down. Studies confirm that whole flax seed passes through the GI tract with 85% of its compounds unabsorbed. If you've been eating whole flax seeds and wondering why nothing is changing, this is likely why. The fix is a cheap coffee grinder or pre-grown seeds kept refrigerated. The second mistake is expecting measurable change in the first 2 weeks. Beta cell neogenesis is a biological process that unfolds over months, not days. The studies that showed the most dramatic results, A1C reductions, fasting glucose normalization, ran for 10 to 16 weeks. Give this protocol 90 days before you evaluate. Progress will be real and measurable by then. Quitting at week 3 because you don't feel different is the most common reason people miss a genuine physiological shift. The third mistake is replacing seeds with supplements and assuming equivalence. A trigonelline capsule is not the same as soaked fenugreek seeds. A thioquinone extract is not the same as whole black seed. The full matrix of fiber, polyphenols, alkaloids, and fatty acids in a whole food work synergistically in ways that an isolated extract does not replicate. The fourth mistake is not addressing the dietary pattern that caused the problem. The seeds in this protocol are powerful biological tools, But if you consume them every morning and then eat a day full of ultra-processed carbohydrates, refined sugars, and seed oils, you are working against yourself at a scale the seeds cannot overcome. This protocol is an accelerant for a broader dietary shift, not a compensation mechanism for an unchanged diet. Type 2 diabetes is not a life sentence written in your DNA. The people who genuinely reverse this condition, and the research shows that reversal is possible, not theoretical, are not exceptional people with unusual genetics or unlimited resources. They are people who consistently daily make small, targeted, biologically intelligent choices. They take the soaked fenugreek seeds seriously. They grind their flax seed. They don't skip the black seed. They do it again tomorrow and the day after that. Your pancreas is not done. Your beta cells are not all gone. The progenitor cells are there. The regeneration pathways are there. The galactomannanon is there in a $5 bag of seeds at the store down the street. These biological systems exist in you right now. You do not need to wait for a new drug. You do not need to accept progressive decline as the only option. You can begin supporting your own metabolic recovery today, not with heroic effort, but with consistent, informed daily action. Let's lock in everything we covered today. The real problem in type 2 diabetes is the loss of beta cell mass, not just high blood sugar. And the pancreas has a documented capacity for beta cell regeneration that is rarely addressed in conventional treatment. Fenugreek seeds 10 grams daily soaked overnight contain trigonylene, which activates PDX1, the genetic switch for beta cell formation, and galactomannan fiber, which physically slows glucose absorption and flattens post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 25%. Ground flaxseed, 25 grams daily, delivers lignans and ALA that suppress the NF-κB oxidative pathway responsible for beta cell destruction, protecting and preserving the beta cell population you're trying to rebuild. Black seed, Nigella sativa, 2 to 3 grams daily, activates the master metabolic switch, which improves insulin sensitivity by creating alternative glucose uptake pathways in muscle cells, reducing total insulin demand on the pancreas. Chia seeds, 15 grams daily, soaked in water, flatten post-meal glucose curves by 21%, reduce LDL oxidation, and regulate appetite in a way that naturally reduces caloric intake and visceral fat accumulation over time. Green tea, 2 cups at 175 degree F with no dairy milk, amplifies EGCG-mediated glucose metabolism and complements the entire protocol through AMPK co-activation. Consistency over 10 to 12 weeks is the evidence-based timeline for measurable results. Track fasting glucose and waist circumference monthly, not daily. And whole and ground seeds outperform supplements for this application because the fiber compound matrix is mechanistically essential, not incidental. Your health is not predetermined by your genes or your age. The metabolic trajectory you're on right now can be altered. It has been altered in peer-reviewed clinical settings with the exact foods and compounds we discussed today. You have more influence over that trajectory than you have been led to believe. If this information was useful to you, I need you to do 2 things. First, share this video with someone managing type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. There are over 400 million people worldwide living with this condition, and the vast majority have never been told that the foods they eat can directly support pancreatic regeneration. That information deserves to travel. Second, if you haven't already, check out my previous video where I break down the 5 foods that activate EMPK most powerfully and how to combine them with a time-restricted eating window for maximum metabolic impact. It pairs directly with what we covered today. I'll see you in the next one. Dr. Leana out.